In today's complex business environment, leaders need not only to be prepared for the worst, but also to build their resilience. At The Human Factor, Corporate Integrity Matters' Sonja Stirnimann invites top executives, board members, and industry experts to reflect and talk about the realities of corporate integrity, risk, and ethical leadership. As an international governance authority, independent director, and entrepreneur, she understands the challenges leaders face. Integrity and ethical leadership are not just principles. They build resilience, enhance reputation, and create strategic competitive advantage for organizations and for individuals.
Today, I'm honored to welcome Martine Richmann. In a nutshell, Martine provides board-level expertise, strategic foresight, and offers different perspectives shaping the future of finance and technology, responsibly and effectively ensuring impactful results. With Martine, we have an expert in digital strategies and transformation talking about corporate integrity today. In my discussions with leaders, I'm curious to learn more about what drives them. And today, I would like to know how corporate integrity influences digital strategies and what we should keep on our radars in our roles as board members, executives, and role models. Let's dive into Martine's insights when it comes to the question of ethical leadership and corporate integrity in combination with digital transformation. Martine, every organization talks about their digital transformation, digital strategy, digital journey, and all these kind of other words. What is your first thought as an expert in that field when you hear these words in combination with corporate integrity?
Yes, thank you, Sonja, for this question. A great question, by the way. So, what is most surprising basically is the differentiation and what is the understanding about digital transformation. Also about strategy. Frankly speaking, some organizations are thinking they don't really need a strategy for that. Okay, they are on their journey on digital transformation or they are already well advanced. But it's worth to think of what is the take on that and what is the impact, especially on corporate integrity, like you said. And for me, so basically, if we think of the corporate integrity is, the sum of the action that an organization takes, which are in line, in the best case, which are in line with the principle or their ethical principle and with their value and with the purpose. And this is quite a big topic because achieving this alignment, it sounds obvious and natural, but it's not. So you might face some disalignment and to have your goals basically aligned. So this is what is just coming to me when you're thinking, what it is about digital transformation and digital strategy onto the execution.
And when you say that often also the digital strategy is not yet in place or then they think they don't need it, I think also the alignment is going to be quite difficult because as long as you don't have a strategy, you cannot align your actions to that. So what do you see or what are the typical situations when that topic lands on your desks when it comes to digital transformation, corporate integrity, but also lacking a strategy at all, or maybe the strategy is not implemented? So what are these kind of situations you see?
Yeah, the situation, thank you, Sonja, for that. So the situation that I see is especially in the field of AI, right? Organizations are really willing to adopt AI, or some are not yet, or some are more consuming AI, but they have to a certain extent. So this is not valid for all the organization for sure, but to some extent they are thinking we don't need an AI strategy, right? But yes, you need one. And the point is that the strategy that you defined, that you align also to your governance and to your goal, there's a cultural aspect, right? That's why we are also speaking about corporate integrity, because it's going more about just on the corporate side, but we are speaking or thinking on finance integrity, right? And then system integrity and data integrity. So what I see is basically that you can have a lot of started exercise, right? But lacking somewhat on a good governance. So having a governance or having the willingness and the motivation to have a governance in place. So this is one stage. And the second one is really to have a good governance and also as a governance which is evolving. So evolving with the context, with the environment, with the need which are changing. And this awareness. So having this cultural aspect, which can be ethical, integrity, really embedded in your governance, but in your policy, in your compliance, but also in all our action. And this is understood. This is another story, but it's really important, not only for reputational risk, if we think of AI, but also for the financial impact that you will have, and also the evolution of the development of your business.
You are really the expert when it comes to digital transformation, digital strategy, and all these kind of journeys. What I see, or I also had a discussion yesterday with one of our clients. It was really about AI and digitalization. I also told them, as long as you do not yet have guidelines how to behave, how should your team members, your employees, really know how they are allowed to take actions and how to behave? And I think a lot of companies still struggle with that. They have maybe already a strategy. They know exactly what they would like to execute, but often they also forget that in the meantime, people already use AI, they work with that, they have all these kind of accesses. What do you see from your side as an expert in that field?
Yeah. I think that you should really give some guidance, right? So this guidance should be tailored. I am a really fan about adopting AI safely. What responsible, ethical AI, explainable AI, and for having this guideline, you need to start somewhere. So I am using basically AI procurement risk management or AI risk management, but for the sake of the innovation in the organization. So you can think about, let's say, it's at least in terms of figures, what does it mean? Maybe 70 main points that we can think of, but we can start on a light weight to be aware on the awareness, like what are coming the system, what is the data origin, what is the data validity, what is the accuracy, and the complexity of the system and the impact on your client. And so the financial impact, but also impact in a larger way. But these guidelines, so I will say it's a good advice to start on where the organization are, to build on that. So what we have in a general manner in terms of ethical compliance policy, and to build on that. But and it's the awareness, basically it's should be spread all over the organization. So this is not just something for, let's say, the board, or it's not just something for some data scientist or AI engineer. No, this is really concerning everybody. So that's why, like, if you're fortunate, you have an ethic board in your in your board. If not, I really recommend to build basically AI ethics board. So this is a good practice that we see in other countries, which I could only encourage and recommend to that we use that also in Switzerland, but for sure in other countries also. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and
But
yes,
but I also, sorry to interrupt you, because
please.
I just want to raise one question, because when I listen to you, and I think that we all agree that we would need to have that, we need to have these kind of guidelines. What I also see when I go back to organizations, these guidelines are often just too complex, and we have to think about all the people who should implement or also follow these guidelines.
Yes.
And my approach is normally that you need to have that on on a on one sheet of paper, if you would print it out, just, for example, 5 key principles like the code of conduct. The more complex it is, the less we can expect that people can follow through, because we have we have different cultures, we have different nationalities, we have, we are such diverse teams in our organization. So I think it should be as simple as possible to avoid as many risks as possible. You know what I mean? We cannot cover 100% of the risks, but I think with 5 principles, we could already reduce most of our risks here.
Yes, so that's absolutely true, Sonja. So having this on one page, which is understandable for everybody, right? But this needs also to be repeated. So if we think of AI risk, basically, MIT identified by end of last year this a figure which is simple to remember, 777 AI risk, and now working on that and came over 1,000 risk. So we categorize that basically, and this is a kind of a simple approach. What we can see is that whatever the kind of risk that you have, the impact, they are really huge. So they are going from destructive, catastrophic to existential. This might be also the case for other maybe risk. But if we think of data, integrity. So, and data are a lot, really used. It's basically the golden source for the AI, the machine learning models, etc. But this is only valuable as long that it is accurate, also when it's current, timeless, and when it haven't not be altered. And also if it's accessible to everybody who need that, and that it could be displayable and integrated. So we can have this principle that we can, everybody on the journey, in your daily business, basically, that you have a stake on that. So these are kind of good start. Data are transformed a lot, and what you said also in the complexity of the risk, you cannot manage maybe everything. That's why we go for tailored risk management, not just with the likelihood and the impact, but what is the awareness and for sure what is the direct and the indirect impact.
And I think also the maturity level they already have right now, because what I think, we cannot, what I often also see that they have a goal by when it should be finished. But on that journey, I think we should already have the most significant risks mitigated. And I think that's often forgotten, because we need to do that, because sometimes it takes 18 months to get to our goals we already have. And in the meantime, it's not, for me, it's not an approach not to do nothing at all.
Correct. Thank you for for this conclusion, right? Because it's an imperative. So integrity or corporate integrity is not an option, right?
Yeah.
This is essential, and that's the same with AI. So with adopting AI, where I see really a chance for the organization in a larger sense of integrity is set this on the table, right? Get your guideline, and maybe not just adopt AI or consume AI, from external sources or whatever, or from big tech company. Nothing wrong with that, but be sure about what is the impact on your business. So is what could happen, right? Is that misrepresentation, a misuse, okay, or misadventure, or also misapplication. And what could really be come on this journey with the human in the loop or not with the human in the loop. But what I can tell you is what I have seen is by doing the homework with or without guideline, right? What is your stake and how are you involved basically on what is going on, right? What is AI then helping us? Because we go also with day by day, much more automation, AI agent, also
Self-created.
self-created AI agent. Yeah, that's really an aspect. So what is the guideline on that, and how you assess that, and how you monitor that? And probably, as I always say, I am sure you don't have 18 months time for that, right?
No.
It's
Yeah,
the time to
exactly. That's
act.
also what I mean. Yeah.
Yes. It's time to act now, and we have basically good opportunity. And with technology, we have even a really good opportunity to combine that with, let's say, the guidance that the human will integrate on that. But it started really very simple step. And if I take one in AI, let's say, if we think you ingest your data, maybe that you know the source of your data or you don't know the source of your data. So what will that impact? Basically, the recommendation that machine learning model will do, and what will that impact your client? You want sure that your client stay on board, and probably you want also to have more client, but you don't want that client churning, right? So validate that and have your feedback loop. And this is basically something that, we can say the most of the time you are doing basically trade-off, right? So
Always.
you said
That's risk
yes.
management, isn't it?
Yeah, you have, okay, your data quality is not at the maximum, and that's normal until a certain extent. But what you do with that? So knowing how machine learning algorithms are working, what are you doing with this missing data point or with this not qualitative data point? Are you taking just a subtract of a really huge data set and you are doing further assumption and you're setting this in production? Or are you generating basically, this is happening in most of the case, new data, right, for improving the quality? But what is the impact on all the chain? So understanding this process and understanding what could be the impact could be catched somewhat if you have an AI ethic board with engineer explaining this to business partner, with subject matter expert to make it understandable. Having also specialist in ethics, to understand the impact, and somewhat also layers and also external consultant for having other perspective, not only the one from the organization itself. And by some extent, we can also recommend to have guests like politician or, public representative to expand basically the validity of your ethical or integrity guidelines.
I absolutely support, I think the bigger goal of having all these kind of ethic boards, but also seeing what's going on right now on, within all the large organizations. I think it's not always feasible to have them in place as, in the time speed we would like to have that. And especially also just filling these kind of ethic boards with people who maybe do not fully comply, or how should I say, bring in the expertise they should. I think it would also be a risk, because then we have all these kind of ethic boards, but maybe not staffed with the expertise we would need to have. And in the meantime, I think it would also be helpful, but that's just my opinion on that raising the awareness within the organization, especially also on board level, executive level, and all kind of role models we have within the organization,
Yes.
acting as ambassadors for that, bringing in these kind of, 5 to 10 principles we follow through. And next to that, in parallel, we also build up these kind of ethic boards, because I think also the people serving in these boards, some of them need to be still trained, and being prepared for that kind of responsibility they take on. I don't know how you see that.
Yes. I fully agree, right? I fully agree. So this is basically never-ending training, as long that we don't have all the guideline in place, and as long that this is not integrated really. But so there's several approach to tackle this, right? Top down or bottom up. This can also find its way that in the middle. You really need to start with that. So you can probably not embrace everything and all the recommendation at the same times. Most of the time not. But what is the most important? Yes.
Now, just also because I think right now I just had an idea, and I think we should really also go on that maybe in a deep dive, maybe also a deep dive for our audience, really preparing or getting them some kind of more guidelines of what they can now really do, knowing that an ethics board would be the best solution, but also being more realistic that it takes a lot of time. So I think we could also do that maybe in another session later on this year, because I think it would be of interest for some of them. Another question I also have right now, where could we do better in our roles? Just, what are the actions all of us could take right now within the next few weeks to make it a bit safer, when it comes to AI and corporate integrity in that field?
Yeah. So that's several aspects, right? But the first which come in my mind is these are a leadership, basically accountability, right? You are a role model and tackle that. So could happen that as a leader, you might be not fully aware about what is happening in the black box or behind the scene, but this is not a black box. And you don't just want to open the black box that you have your audit trail, let's say, completed on that. You want more, right? You want the best for your stakeholder, your client, your customer, your partner, your shareholders, and everybody which other stakeholder that you might not know on that. So you want also to make sure that you are promoting the value that your stakeholder expect, right? This can also evolve all the time. But in terms of AI, I think that's a great chance to get this on the table and to discuss that. So it doesn't need to take so much. I work with team. They basically developed then. So after, if you want, so in the field of Gen AI, after basically the generation of the content, some kind of cross check. So what is the hallucination degree in the generated content? Because you don't want to have fake, deep information, misinformation for the base of further decision making if we are using generated AI. And so what are the feedback loop, how you validate it? And that's a long list, a long checklist, but you are not probably not running all your unique tests as soon that you develop some new AI snippet or whatever. But there are some really basic rules that you can think of is, okay, you can run what is the hallucination or what are basically scientifically based check, right? What are the different statistical methods that you use in your model and to see the performance. So, but on not just by time, really to integrate this in a systematic manner. And maybe also to cross-check, do we have any conflicting data source? What are the data source that we use? Do we have API or do we have relevant data that we don't use because we don't have an API just for this system? And so we have another way. Who is defining all the parameters? So on the road, giving responsibility, accountability to everybody to say who is in charge for the data accuracy, for the weighting, for the parameters, for the integration. Has the data be altered to having this kind of automated monitoring also in place? So that's really is easy said, and it might be easily, easily
Maybe for
said.
you it's Maybe for you it's easy, but I could also imagine that some of our audience now or listeners, they really think, oh, there are so many things we need to integrate and do. And yes, I think it's a lot of work to do, but as you said before, it's a leadership accountability, and we are all role models, and we can also act like that, because all employees, they watch how we behave when it comes to data, when it comes to AI, and how we treat that, and how serious we treat it, and how accountable we are. So thank you very much for sharing that. And I think it
Sure.
would be even more interesting to learn more about this full checklist you already mentioned before. And if you have time, maybe over the next few months, we could really also think about having a deep dive, going into all the details, and really offering or come up with a webinar for our audience that they could also
Definitively.
follow you with some underlying documentation they can use afterwards. So thank you very, very much, Martine. It was
You're very welcome.
super interesting. And I think we should not stretch now the time from our listeners, because normally we try to be finished within our 20 to 25 minutes. But it was super interesting. I think we need to have a second part rather sooner than later. So thank you for your valuable insights and reflections today. And you really outlined the importance of corporate integrity and ethical leadership when it comes to digital transformations, digital strategies, and also the journey we have to go all together. I highly appreciated your contribution, and I'm sure our global audience will do the same. So thank you very much, Martine.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Sonja.